Hey beautiful, you're welcome to my channel. If this is your first time coming across this channel, thank you for stopping by. My name is Chisom. On today's video, I'll be sharing with us how I made this beautiful peplum top with bow collar and puff sleeve. If this sounds like something you're interested in learning, hit the subscribe button, click on the notification bell so you get notified whenever I post new videos on this channel, and let's get straight into the tutorial. Alright, you're welcome back. Now the full length of the blouse I'm making is 26 inches, so I'll draft the 17 inches for the half length first, after which I'll cut the peplum with the 9 inches that is remaining to make the full blouse. So I'm going to go ahead and rule a line on top here to serve as a guide for my measurement taking. Now from this line, I'm going to be marking my armhole, which is 8.5, half of my armhole. I'll mark my bust point, which is 10.5, and then I will mark my half length, which is 17 inches. Now the full length I have here is 17 and a half, because I'll be needing half inch to join the peplum to the upper part. Okay, I'm going to rule this line across. So now I have my shoulder line, my chest line, my bust point, and the waistline. Okay, from the center here, I am going to mark my neck circumference of 3 inches by 3 inches. Now I'll measure the half of my shoulder measurement plus half inch sewing allowance. I'll also put the same measurement on the chest line, and I'm going to connect this straight. Now from this center line again, I'll mark my bust measurement divide by 4, and I am going to be putting 1.5 inch allowance, which is what I have already. 1.5 inch allowance right here. I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll connect it to the neckline width. So I'll get the midpoint of this armhole line. On that midpoint mark, I will go in by half of an inch, and I'm going to connect these points together with my curve ruler. Simply connect it like this. Now on the waistline, I'm going to measure my waist divide by 4 plus that intake allowance and sewing allowance. My waist divide by 4 here, that intake allowance, and then 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. So I'll simply connect this waist points to the bust line. Now I'm going to be using a basic dart for this. Okay, I'll come in by quarter of my nipple to nipple measurements. I'll also make the same mark on my bust point. Now because this is a freehand drafting, okay, I'm going to be adding half inch for, I almost forgot, I'm going to be adding half inch for joining to this side. So now this is going to be my dart line. I'm going to connect that with a straight line. Now on this waistline, I'm going to take the measurement I added for the dart intake, which is 0.75. I'm going to be connecting it to the bust point. I'll connect here to here and connect here to here as well. Now if you want to tighten the under bust area, you can totally do that. Remember that this dart that I took here has been replaced already, so by the time I go ahead to sew in this dart, I will still have my waist measurements intact. Now if you want to tighten your under bust on this, you simply come down by your bust, under bust measurements. Let me see, here is my under bust. I'll simply check what I have. 4, 10. I'll just come here and mark the excess I have on this under bust area. I'll connect it to this bust point and connect this side to the bust point as well. You can see the under bust is tightened, and simply take it down to meet the waistline. So now by the time I'm sewing, I would simply sew everything together. I'll sew everything together and stop at this bust point area. I was thinking of going up by 2 inches and connecting it to this dart leg. Okay, you can see what I did there. This is another way to reduce the side front, or you can simply measure it out on the side and connect it and then join it together. Okay, so but I'll go with this one. I don't think I've tried this one before, but I'll simply go with this one and see how it comes out. For the slit on the center front, I will come down by 3 inches. So now when I cut out the neckline, I am going to slit this place open to this point. So I'll keep this aside. Now we'll work on the back piece. So my center back is going to start from here. And now I'm going to rule a starting line on the top like this. Now I'll mark out my waistline and my chest line. So I have my shoulder line, my chest line, and my waistline. Now on the waistline, I'm going to come in by 1 inch, which I think I already have it, and I'm going to connect it straight to the top. Now I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement, divide by 2 plus ½ inch sewing allowance. I'm going to mark it here as well. I'll make this into a straight line. I'll slant my shoulder by 1 inch. Then I'll take 3 inches neck width. I'll connect the shoulder slope to the 3 inches. For the neck depth for the back, I'll take 1½ inches. So I'm simply connecting that with my free hand. Now on the chest line, I'm going to measure my bust divide by 4 plus 1.5 inch sewing allowance. On the waistline, I'll measure my waist divide by 4 plus that intake as well. So I'll put 8.5, and then I'll measure, and then I'll add 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So I'm going to connect the waist mark to the bust mark. Now for the armhole covering again, I'm going to get the midpoint of the armhole line. I'll go in by 0.5 for the armhole covering, and I am going to curve it out with my ruler, my curve ruler, using the same method I used for the front piece. Now I'm going to impute my from the initial straight line. That's where I'll be taking my dart measurement plus ½ inch allowance for joining to this side. 4.2. I'll mark the same on the chest line, make it into a straight line. Now on the waist, I'm going to take my dart allowance that was added. On the chest line here, I'll come down by 1 inch. From the chest line, I'll come down by 1 inch. That is where my dart is going to stop. Now I'll connect the dart from the waist to the 1 inch. I'll add zipper allowance. I'm using ½ inch for zipper allowance. So I'll add it here and connect it upwards. So I'm simply going to cut this out. So right now I am done transferring the darts. I'll go ahead and stitch close the darts for the front and the back piece. I'll stitch close the darts, and after stitching the darts, I'm going to join them side by side. After joining at the shoulders, I will go ahead and close the sides with the 1½ inch sewing allowance that was added. So right now I'm done with stitching the dart and joining the sides together. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'll open up the top like this. I'm going to measure around the waistline. Okay, from one side I'll start measuring all the way to the other side. So right here I have 32 inches. So I'll be cutting out the peplum with 32 inches waistline. Now after measuring the waistline of the top, what I got was 32 inches. Now to get the radius, I'll be dividing 32 inches by 6.28. After dividing 32 inches by 6.28, what I got was 5.0. Now 5.0 plus the full length of this peplum, which is 9 inches, plus extra allowance is what I used to cut out. On fold like this, I have 16 inches. From this edge to this edge, I have 16 inches. From this edge to this edge, I have 16 inches. So it is a 16 inches squared cutout that I did. That is on fold. Okay, if you open it up like so, it will be longer than it, but after folding I have 16 inches. So now I have 16 inches both in length and in width. So from here I'm going to be marking my radius. 32 inches divided by 6.28, I got 5.0, but that will be 5 inches. So I'm going to be marking 5 inches from this point here. I'm going to be taking 5 inches round. So here is my radius. Now from here to here, I'll measure the length of my peplum. 11 inches, exactly what I have here, 11 inches. So From the top now I have 16 inches. I'm going to take it to the top and measure 16 inches round. Okay, now after getting my 16 inches round, I am going to cut this out. I'll go ahead and open this up from one side. You can open it up from any side at all because it's a 360 setup. So this is it. Now before I fix it, I'll go ahead and hem the bottom part. You can use bias, you can cut what is it called, lining for it, but me, I'll be folding it in. I'll be folding it in and stitching along the way. That is how I'm going to hem it. So right now I am done attaching the peplum to the blouse. The next thing I am going to do is to finish up this slit I have here. You can finish up with bias if you have this color of bias, or simply go ahead and cut out a strip from the fabric and use it to finish up. So after I'm done with this, I will go ahead and install my zipper. Now my zipper is going to run all the way from the top to where the blouse ends. Okay, so now I have this strip of fabric that I'm going to use for the bow around the neck. It's 5 inches in width, and on fold it will give me 2.5 inches. By the time I go ahead and close it, I'll have 2 inches. Then the length is 60 inches because I want to have enough to drop to tie as a bow around the neckline area. So what I am going to do is I'll measure the round neck of my top. I'm going to measure from one center through to the back. All the way to this other side. Okay, and what I have here is 19 inches. So I am going to fold this into two. So I'm going to fold this into two to get the midpoint. So here is the midpoint. I'll notch that place. So I'll notch the midpoint like so. After notching the midpoint, I'll go ahead and fold 19 inches into two like so. And I will place it because this one is now on fold. So I will mark where the 19 inches stops here. Then I'll go ahead and fold it like so. So what I'm going to do is I will close this side. I'll stitch close this side and I'll run a thread through from the beginning, and once I get to the first notch of the 19 inches mark I made, I will stop right there and I'll move over to this other side, close here, stitch from the end all through to the second notch. That is why I made that notch right there. So I'll just have only the parts that I'll fix around the neckline open. So I'll head over to the sewing machine right now and stitch the two sides, and I'll be right back for the next step. So I'm done with the collar right now. The next thing to do is on the neck here, on the center back, I'm going to stitch it close because the center back will be closed. Of course, the zip is going to just stop in between somewhere here. So I'll stitch the center back close, and I am going to use that midpoint I notched as a guide. So I'm going to use this midpoint I notched here as a guide to place at the center back. So first I am going to sew it all the way from the center back to the center front and come over again and stitch it to the other center front, after which I'll go ahead and fold it in and top stitch. So here is the sleeve I cut out for this. It's just a basic sleeve. Now this is about 15 inches. I want it somewhere a little bit above or below the elbow line. Now I have this strip of fabric I want to use for the puff. This is 10 inches in width and the length is times 4 of my wrist measurement. Okay, times 4 of my wrist. This depends on how full you want your own to be. If you want it to be very full, you can make it times 5, or lesser full, you can make it times 3 or times 2. So by the time I go ahead and gather it, it will give me the kind of puff I want. So I went ahead to run a gather stitch on one side. I'm simply going to drag it. Okay, I'll be dragging it to give me the exact measurement of this area where I'll be attaching it. So I'm going to place it, okay, let me turn it this way so you see it. So I'm going to place it upside like so, and I will stitch it down to the sleeve. I'll stitch it down to the sleeve, or on the sleeve area, from this side to this side. Then I'll bring it down like so. So right now I'm done attaching the collar, and I've also gone ahead to fix the sleeve and turn it to the right side. I also made a casing for the elastic, just like I said. Now I left a space in between where I am going to pass my elastic. So here is the elastic I'll be using to pass through the channel I created. I'll simply use my pin and poke through it like this. Okay, and then I'll look for the place I left a space. I'll look for the space I left, and I'm going to follow one side and start passing through. I'm going to follow one side and start passing the elastic. Now when passing the elastic, I'll make sure that this elastic does not jump inside the casing, away from my reach. So I'll gently drag it, and once I see that the elastic is moving towards inside, I'm going to use a pin and hold it down so it won't enter inside. Right now I am done passing the elastic. This is, you can see how puffy is looking right now. I stitched the two sides of the elastic to hold them both together. So what I'm going to do next, I will stretch it like so I'll be able to stitch on the open part to close it. I'll do this on the both sleeves before I go ahead and attach the sleeve. This is like the last thing remaining right now, attaching the sleeve to the armhole area. Okay, so after I'm done attaching the sleeve, I'll show you guys the final result. So here is the final result, guys. You can tell that our top is really beautiful. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. Now, if this video was helpful to you, kindly give this video a thumbs up so more people will get to see it. And if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please hit on the subscribe button, turn on notification bell so you get notified whenever I post new videos. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.